Okay, welcome to this new presentation of one of our coaches' coaching model, Ewoudt. The place is all yours to introduce your orchestral transformation today.
Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I'm really excited to take you through this presentation. And like Christina said, this is my coaching model. So just a little bit of background to set the scene before we start. While I was working on my coaching definitions, I really love the idea of working with metaphors to build out my understanding of coaching. And one of the metaphors was describing coaching as an orchestra of transformation. So I really like the idea. So for my coaching model, I wanted to take that idea and expand on it a little bit more. So that is today's presentation, Orchestra of Transformation, and it's all about coaching in tune. So as we start, enjoy the show. Imagine that you are at a symphonic orchestra presentation with a friend or a family member, and you are just enjoying your night out. So what are we going to go through in today's session? So firstly, we're going to talk about the key players in this symphony of ours, this symphony of transformation. We're also going to talk about the instruments that the coach has as part of the symphony, and you'll see what that means. And then we're going to talk about the key acts of this musical performance between the coach and the client and all of the different other parts of the symphony. So that's just to set the scene before we get in. So let's get into it. So the first part is the key players in our symphony. So what I want to also do, if you don't mind, I'm going to make the session a little bit interactive. If no one wants to answer, don't worry, I will give you time to think about it and then I can jump in. But imagine coaching as a symphony, an orchestra, doing a beautiful performance. You've got all of your different instruments, the cellos, the violins, the piano, and obviously you've got your conductor as well, and you've got the audience. So if you think about that setup, ask yourself, where would you put the client in this mix? So if you were thinking about this, is there a specific space in the orchestra that you would potentially put the client? And I'm wondering if someone is willing to take a guess before we continue.
I'd like to say them in the big bass drum, but I think in the with the conductor.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Lucy. So let's see. So let's unpack this orchestra of ours in a little bit more detail. So firstly, you've got all of the resources available to the client. This is friends, family, life learning, self-knowledge, everything that a client brings into a coaching session, the journey that they've been on, and more importantly, the journey that they're about to be on, that future forward approach. So this is the audience, the symphony itself, all of those different parts. But like you said, Lucy, the conductor is very much the client. And this is very important when we think about this metaphor. It is about the conductor, the client. It is the client's orchestra. They are conducting the symphony. All of the different parts are coming together, and they are also accountable for what that symphony sounds like and looks like at the end of the day. So that's why I think it's such a lovely metaphor for the coaching process. So coaching is orchestrated as a symphony with the client as the conductor of their own life and their own life story. So really, once again, talking about how we're empowering our clients in this space. So then where is the coach? So just to add that, we've kind of alluded to it already, but the coach is sitting in the orchestra, not the key player, but a support to the client during the symphonic presentation. So there we've got our coach. The coach is part of the symphony, providing support to the client during the process. And very important, the coach is not the focus, not the star of the show. That is the client. It's all about how we as coaches are supporting our clients on their journey. So yeah, just building out that metaphor even more. So then that leads us to this whole idea of a coaching symphony. The client leads their life symphony as the conductor, while the coach supports them during this musical exploration of their life. And you'll see now as we go through the coaching model, how we build this out. Together, they embark on a journey of self-discovery and growth for the client. creating a harmonious performance of transformation and growth. And that is really what we as coaches are supporting our clients with when we take on this journey. So that's just setting the scene. That's to give you an idea of how this symphony comes together. Now we're going to unpack the instruments or the tools of the coach in a little bit more detail as part of the symphony, supporting the client. So what are some of the key instruments of the coach? So as you all know, as coaches, there's actual various tools that we can use as coaches to support ourselves, to support the client. And we unpack these tools in all of these sessions together. But it's very important that we're aware of these tools and we understand how to use them to support the client. So let's take the metaphor further and unpack all of these different instruments, or some of them at least, that the coach has access to. So firstly, we have the keyboard. This for me is the ICF competencies and markers, which really provides the rhythm and the flow for each coaching session. Think of this as the tone, setting the tone and the bass rhythm for how a coaching session flows and what happens during a coaching session. And as we know, and as we've experienced, these ICF competencies and the markers within are so vital to ensuring that there is a flow to a coaching session. And we use this as coaches to navigate the coaching process. So that is our first instrument. Then we've got the flute, and the open-ended questions is what we're representing here symbolically with the flute. What are open-ended questions? Why are they so important? They encourage exploration and self-awareness in the client, and it ensures that the client remains the lead of the orchestra, not the coach. And that's why these open-ended questions are so important, because it also sets that scene for the client to really guide the discussion, because it's up to them how they answer those questions. And that's why these open-ended questions, the right type of open-ended questions, can be such a powerful support during this symphony that we're building. And then we've got curiosity and active listening, which is here represented by the trumpet. So curiosity and active listening represented here deepens the coach and the client connection. So us being curious, actively listening during sessions and really immersing ourselves in the coaching process is something that becomes very powerful for our clients. And then we've got another instrument. We spoke already about the drums earlier. Drums for me is the acknowledgement. It is that moment of observation and where you're acknowledging and giving recognition to the client. Every shift in the client is important, and it's important as coaches that we recognize those moments and encourage them and also recognize them during a coaching session for the support and growth of the client. So for me, that's another great and powerful instrument in our toolbox. And then we've got the violin, which is all about vulnerability and authenticity. And we've spoken about these two elements already, very powerful. And this is really important because this is what creates that safe space for growth for the client. Us being vulnerable as coaches and being authentic and being ourselves creates that safe space that the client requires to grow and to explore their coachable goal. So such an important thing, and the violin I just felt is such a nice symbolic reference for that authenticity and vulnerability. Okay, so that were all of our instruments. I'm sure we can come up with some lovely additional instruments as well for our orchestra, but that's just to give you an idea of some of these tools that we have as coaches that we bring into our coaching sessions. So for the last part of today's presentation on my coaching model, I'm going to look at the key acts of this musical performance. So now we know who the players are. We've looked at the different instruments and tools that the coach has. How does a musical performance or a coaching session then actually transpire? So like I said in the beginning of the presentation, it really is about creating this musical harmony throughout the session. So the coaching process really unfolds very much like movements in a symphony, with different waves, different melodies, and different moments of impact, highs and lows. And this is really how it works. But it's very important that we are always aware that the client is really setting and guiding that rhythm and tone for the session, obviously with the support of the coach. So then let's go into the different phases. So the first one is the agreement setting phase. This is really where the coach helps the client refine their musical vision into a SMART goal, ensuring clarity and precision. So because before we can start with our symphony and really explore it, it's very important that we have that concise and clear goal. And although the coach isn't crafting the final crescendo, they act as the composer's collaborator. So really collaborating with them, the power and the drive, all of that still sits with the client, but the coach becomes a very active and an important partner in that journey for the client. And then we've got our exploration phase. So this is really when the curtain rises on our musical symphony, the show has started, and the coach and the client explores this coachable goal through the use of open-ended questions and other tools that the coach has to their disposal, delving into the client's narrative from various angles, using the right questions, being curious, and using that tool set. And this act really ends with the client reaching a new sense of self-awareness around their goal, as well as a deeper awareness about themselves. Very, very importantly, this is of course, as coaches, what we hope for, and something that we would love to achieve during for the client to achieve during a coaching session. And then finally, we get very importantly to the action planning phase. So in this final act, the coach and the client collaborate again and still do to unravel the lessons that they've learned, creating an action plan to extend the play beyond the final curtain call. And this is very important. It's very important that we always focus on what is happening post the session, and that the client is really empowered with the right tools to take that discussion further, to be accountable, and to have reflect around the right resources. So this is where the client gets to take a bow. We also congratulate and recognize the growth that the client has developed during the session. And it's very important, this is their moment. They can end the session any way they want to. It is their focus, and it's very important that we create and celebrate that moment for our clients. So that brings us to the end of this presentation today, and I just leave you with this final question. Are you ready to help your clients conduct their own transformative symphony? And that's me. Thank you so much.
Wow, Ewoudt. So this has been congratulations, and it's been a journey of music and art today. So it's been a fantastic journey, and also the images and the colors and the power of metaphors, because you managed to put together a lot of elements, evocative elements of the competencies and of what coaching for ICF with the ICF competencies is about. And the last question, can you share again the last slide that you offered to us? Because, I mean, it is a closed question, but it is very empowering. Are you ready to help your clients conduct their own transformative symphony? Because this is also what coaching is about. Mm-hmm. How ready are we? And how do we support to get ready to that? Because that's a skill. To not be in the focus of the scene, but being a partner that supports our clients to reach the desired results. Thank you so much. What was the most let's say the biggest benefit that you received by working at this presentation? You can stop sharing now if you want.
Thank you, Christina. I think for me, it was just really, I mean, for me, I'm quite a creative soul at heart. So for me, this was so amazing to take the journey that I've been on so far and package it in a creative way that also just helped me kind of summarize a lot of what I've learned in a way that was very accessible. So for me, being able to get to that point was such a lovely testament to the journey that I've been on. So that was really rewarding and special.
Thank you. And then we are honored to have been part, that we have been part as an academy of your journey, and that you have developed such a simple and also direct and very entertaining way of describing coaching. Thank you. I will stop the recording so that we can go to more sharing.